introduction. So my guest today is Michael Hackmer, and he's been a marketing professional for 15 plus years. He loves tech, trains, traveling, Pink Floyd, and his family. He was born in Boston, explains the Pink Floyd, and he supports Belichick 2020.
That's right.
True.
A hoodie for president. Do your
Yes,
job.
indeed. So, and Michael is here to share his first time story of international online dating and then traveling to a foreign country to meet someone he had only known virtually. I guess I think a lot of people are getting to know each other virtually now, but
Right.
wasn't the case back when you did this. So I am curious, how did you even get into international online dating?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there have been so many dating platforms over the years. And I think for me, I was just looking to sort of shake things up a little bit. I'd had a lot of bad experiences, had come out of a bad marriage, and was just sort of looking for something different. And, I always enjoyed Latin America. I studied Latin American history at Catholic University in DC. And so I decided, well, there's got to be a way where I can meet somebody down in South America. And so I did some research and started finding different platforms, and that's how things kind of got started. It was definitely out of my comfort zone, but I think, like a lot of things, when you go to get out of your comfort zone, it's because so many other things just are not working. You just say, look, I got to do something different.
Yeah, you got to do something you've never done before to get different
Exactly.
results.
A first.
Exactly. Yes. So, so you create your profile on this
Mhm.
platform, and
Yeah.
obviously it's now it's internet. So everyone on the platform understands that you're starting out some sort of long distance thing, right? So that
Right.
that baseline exists for everyone that's on the platform.
Language, exactly. So there's a few things that you have to think about, right? It's if you don't have a lot of, in this case, Spanish speaking language experience, then you can look at other countries too, or other regions. So it's some people, they say, okay, I want to focus on Africa or Asia or Russia, or or something like that, right? And so it just sort of depends upon where you're kind of looking. And yeah, you really have to define who you are, and kind of what your communication level is, and kind of what your expectation of the other person is going to be. um, and then it really becomes a matter of trying to find someone who's compatible, because it can be hard. It's a different culture, different society, and not everybody is a professional, right? So everybody has different kinds of jobs. So it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to kind of build that out, and then make those communications, and find something that seems like it's going to be worth pursuing. So there's a lot of trial and error, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, dating, online dating is complicated enough as it is.
Right.
It definitely sounds like you're adding a whole other layer to it. But at the same time, the
Hmm.
level of how serious someone is on the
Hmm.
site, I would assume, is different because you're not going through all of that just to date. You're going towards something a lot more serious.
Right. I mean, that's the end goal, and you have to be careful, right? Because I think for a lot of people, it sort of goes both ways, from what I've understood in talking with women in the Americas. It's they have to be careful, because they don't know if the American guy or whomever is really on the up and up. Is he just looking for a wife and kids? Is he looking for sex? Is he looking for something else, right? Because a lot of people who are serious are really focused on finding a relationship and finding that commitment that's really going to last for a long time. They're not looking for something that is just sort of going to be quick, or anything like that. So on their end, people are very cautious and very guarded. But on the opposite side, you have to be cautious and guarded too, because you have a lot of people who are looking to just kind of get out of their situation, get out of poverty, get out of their country. And so that's what there's a lot of pieces that go into this. And for a person just starting out, you can be very naive and very wide-eyed, but then you start to learn as you kind of go through, and And fortunately, some of these sites actually have FAQs, and they explain a lot of those kinds of details of what to kind of be on the lookout for. And I think for someone who's serious about it, it's a great platform, but I think a lot of people misuse it. So that's something that you have to watch out for.
Yeah. So let's dig back more to your
Mhm.
personal
Mhm.
experience.
Sure.
So what, before we get to the good experience, yeah,
Yeah.
do you have a bad experience through the process to share? Did you find yourself in a situation where you're like, ooh, I don't want to go down this path, or, I feel like I wasted time on this, it didn't pan out?
Yeah, I mean, dating is dating, right? And so you're going to always run into people who put on a facade or put on a persona, and you think that they're X, and they turn out that they're not even in the alphabet, right? It becomes a scary situation. And so you have to be very careful. And I had a couple of experiences in which, yeah, I met people who, when you started to get to know them in online, and then later even in real time, right, you're making a huge commitment, traveling, meeting someone for the first time, there's a lot of anxiety, and then you just sort of say, wow, you are very different than the communications that we've had over the last 3 or 4 or 6 months, right? And so I had a couple of those where it's it's hard because you make a huge financial investment, you're traveling down because it's not cheap. I mean, now it would be cheap, right? Because nobody wants to fly. But back in those days, if you wanted to go somewhere, you're looking at anywhere from $600 to $900 round trip. You have to stay in a hotel, you're in a foreign country. So there was a lot of anxiety. And then you have that moment which happened to me, you meet someone and you just sort of almost right away, I knew, and I was just like, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, it is a long way to go to have that feeling again,
Yes.
having done.
It's different when you're going out to a restaurant, right? And you sit
Yeah,
down with
and
someone and they're
flying. So, but
chewing gum,
again,
and yeah, and you're like, ugh.
uh, so let's get into that first time. So that there's the
Yeah.
part, like, what was like, obviously you connected, you
Mhm.
exchange messages, and
Yep.
then you went to video.
Right.
So how long were you talking on video before you made the arrangement to make the trip? And then what was that conversation with her like? Like, what was the plan? Like, or did you have a, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'm flying out the next day? Like, what did you have in place?
Yeah, I wish I had a if this doesn't work out, I'll fly out the next day plan. I actually didn't even think that far ahead, because I think when the first experience that I had was just everything seemed good, everything seemed right, and and then you start to kind of talk about, in I think probably maybe about a few weeks in, you start talking about the idea of, at least I did, well, maybe we should get together at some point, when you feel comfortable, when I feel comfortable. And I think everybody is like anything, right? When that first date happens, it just depends upon the people and the connection that you have at that moment. And obviously there's a little more logistics and planning that goes into it, because you have to buy a ticket and you have to do all that kind of
I know,
stuff.
but I want your experience, Michael. I don't
Yeah.
want
No,
you
no.
keep
So
giving me like,
for
bring
me,
me into your first time.
yeah. So first time it was, yeah, it was, even
Where
though,
did you fly to? Where did you go?
so the first place I went to was to Bogota, Colombia, which I got teased about very big time. I was saying, well, I'm flying to Bogota, Colombia. And they're like, Bogota? Because everyone had this perception that I was going to like Beirut or, some terrorist, country, and I was going to get robbed and killed. Um, and so, yeah, so that was definitely part of the anxiety factor for me, was making that decision and then telling people this is where I'm going and this is what I'm doing. And so a lot of people really questioned my judgment and thought that I was crazy. And yeah, so I was very nervous, and she was very nervous too. And in fact, sort of a funny story that came with this is, she actually had, when I flew into Miami, her mother was living in Miami, and she actually had her mother meet me for lunch before I continued on,
Oh,
to
that's really smart.
to screen me, to make sure that I was, at least somewhat okay, right? And then, unbeknownst to me, I'm then flying to Bogota, Colombia, which I'd never been to before. I'd never been to South America before. And so I was definitely, my anxiety level, was definitely beating pretty hard. And but unbeknownst to me, she had actually dropped her apartment key down, like it fell through the crack in the elevator, and she wondered whether or not that was a sign that she shouldn't go to the airport to pick me up. So there was like a 50-50 shot that she didn't even show up to the airport, that I didn't even know about until she told me about later. So that's really crazy. Um, but yeah, and so I land in this crazy foreign airport, never been to before, in this country I've never been to before. And yeah, but for me, I'm one of those people though, I love to just look around and take in all the sights and everything. And so I walk out and there's just people and they're just staring, like they'd never seen like this tall white guy before, right? Like who the heck is he? And so, but I was just looking all around. I dropped my bags. I'm walking around, and then she pulls up in a car, and she gets out. She's like, "No, no, 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 no." She's like, "No, no, 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 you can't walk away from your luggage. You'll get stolen." It'll get stolen. And so, yeah, it was a crazy experience. Family, everybody, they were terrified for me. They wanted me to check in, the moment I landed, all this stuff. And yeah, and so she told me later that her mother had done the screening and said that he was like Clark Kent from the old Superman comic books, because I had the glasses and the whole deal. So that took some of the edge off. It made things a little bit less tense, but it was still pretty nervous for, I would
Wow.
say, probably
Yeah. I
like the
mean,
first 2 days.
first time meeting
Yeah,
someone, first time flying
into, yeah,
yeah,
South America, to
South
Bogota of
America.
all places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to meet your drug kingpin and just teasing. It's one of the places I want to go to. I've heard it's an amazing place, and
It is
uh,
amazing, and but it's like any, so we're combining a whole bunch of first experiences, right? First time going on a plane to meet somebody I never met, first of all, meeting their mother before you even meet them. I mean, I've never had that happen before in my life, right? I mean, how often do you go on a date and she says, "Well, before I meet you at the pizza place, I want you to swing by over here and and spend 2 hours having lunch with my mom." Like, I mean, that was really nervous for me. So for me, it was just sort of a series of all these different nervous, crazy moments and first times, right? And so, and then getting into this city that I'd never been to before. And for me, I love to just take everything in, and I'm looking all around. But then I'm also with this person that I've been talking to for, a few months. And so, yeah, it was
yeah,
definitely,
and
I
you've
would say
got
the
all the
first two
expectations.
days.
And so, how long were you there for?
I stayed, I think, that trip 7 or 10 days. Yeah, I
Oh,
try to make sure that I wasn't going to be there any less than a week, just because of the time. It doesn't make sense to go for a quick trip, and yeah, and I never thought about, what do I do if this doesn't work out? Where do I go? Any of those things. So for me, yeah, it was definitely a one-shot deal. Like, it either works or then. There was no plan B. So
oh, wow. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, okay, yes. I would do something like this, but I would have a plan B in place. Like I would have my
right.
itinerary of this doesn't pan out. I'm going to see this, this, and this. I'm going to do all of that. Like no matter what, I'm going to get a win out of this. And actually, that's pretty much how I do dating. It's like, no, we're gonna do something fun because even if you don't pan out, the activity, whatever we do, is gonna be fun.
Right,
Like
right.
I can't do dinner or coffee dates. So I'm like, no, because then I'm gonna be bored if it doesn't work. Nah, we
Yeah.
need to be active. We need to do something fun. So that's,
Well, we did plan out, I mean, I did look through and plan out a few things. Like, there were a few things that I saw that I liked, but she being the person who lived there, she knew more about the
yeah,
city and and things to do than I ever would. And so we had a ton, she planned out a ton of activities for us to do, which was great. I mean, it ended up being just a phenomenal experience. All of the museums, the downtown, the old town, taking the cable car up the mountain. I mean, all of those things was really amazing. And I think it helps to have that plan. I mean, when I say I didn't have a plan, like, I didn't have a plan to say, okay, this doesn't work out. Where do I stay? Like, what are my hotel options or anything? I didn't have any of that. So I was just kind of really dependent upon that working out. But she definitely was smart and had a lot of activities and things to do, and it gives you a chance to see somebody kind of in their element. See how patient they can be with you as you kind of look around for the first time and look at stuff. And yeah, we had a good experience. It was a good time. It was a good time.
all right. Now Is this who you did end up marrying or no?
This is someone I did end up marrying. Yes,
All right,
we were
I guess I
married
gave the
for.
punchline.
Yeah, that's right. No, but we were together for several years, and then it was she decided that she wanted to just travel the world on her own. She didn't want to have kids. She didn't she certainly loved my oldest daughter, but she didn't want that responsibility. And certainly that's a tough thing to come to a decision to several years into a relationship, right? But certainly it's better that you make those kinds of decisions, than just sort of you know painting, powering your way through it and just kind of suffering in silence, right? If it's not the life that you want, then ultimately you have to figure that out. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so we part, I mean, certainly didn't part on the best of terms given the nature of the experience, but we've stayed in contact over the years, and there's no animus or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, she's happy traveling, doing her thing. That's good. So
Oh, okay. So she's
yeah.
not. So the woman you visited, but you dated her for a while, but that's not who you married.
No, I did marry
So you
her,
did
and then
marry her.
we did
So you
split up.
split
Yeah,
up and then
after
you got
several
back.
years.
Okay.
Yep. And then I did online dating again in Latin
Okay.
America. Yep. So I tried the same thing, but a different country, different set of criteria for me and everything else. So I started the process over again, but it was a new set of firsts, right? So looking for somebody who was more professional in the sense that we had the same kinds of career, or similar, right? And decided to stay, we're gonna do Colombia, let's try something different. And so and then I ended up meeting my wife in Peru. So that's how, and she's in marketing, so that she does a little different kind of marketing work than I do. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I think we
I,
can, we can, I just want to make it the woman you met in Bogota is not who you married. Your married from Peru. Your wife is from Peru, and
right,
so you still met her through the international online service, but it's
right,
not the same woman. I just
right. Yeah, two
okay.
different people, two different
Okay.
people, two
Yes.
different experiences.
All right. Well, that is quite that's definitely quite a story and quite an experience for sure. All right. So thank you for sharing that. Now let's play the first time lightning round.
I'm ready.
So, yeah, you're ready. So, the way that works for those, if you've never heard of the first time lightning round, I am going to give some first time options to Michael. If
Okay.
it's something he's done before, he's going to say up. If it's something that he's never done, not interested, it's left. And if it's something that he's never done, would like to do, then it's right. All
Okay.
right.
Up,
So,
left, right. There we go.
yeah,
Wait, so
eat.
what's up again?
You've done it.
I've done it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Eat Korean food.
Up. I've
Up.
eaten Korean food. Yep.
What was your first Korean food experience like, and did you like it?
Yes, actually, it was with my daughter, actually my oldest daughter. So yeah, she likes Vietnamese food and Korean food, and she took me to a Korean restaurant. And so it was I wish I could remember what I ate. I don't because it was so long ago, but yeah, she introduced me to that experience. So it was a first
Oh,
time for me. Yes.
that's really neat to have your daughter introduce you to a new food. Yeah, good for
Yes.
her. Yeah. Okay. Do a handstand.
Left. I could never do it. I've tried, and it's not something I want to try. I
Okay,
can do it
so
in the
it's
pool.
so so it's left.
Yeah,
Never done it. Well, you've tried it.
try. Never succeeded. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you could succeed if you tried a little harder.
lose a little weight, get my center of gravity a little bit less.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's like processes to work your way up to it, but it's
Yes,
it's
you're right.
it's on my list. Okay, play Keno.
What's Keno?
Keno, it's like these cards you pick.
Uh-huh.
I think it's 20 numbers. It's
Okay,
a little bit like the lottery where you pick the numbers and then it goes through the machine and then it lets you know how many numbers you had right. Um,
sure, right. We'll try that.
it's
Sounds like
a
fun.
new gambling first.
That's right.
Actually, well,
And actually, I've been
there's got
to.
to be Keno like close by. I'm trying to think when I was in Virginia, they had Keno machines.
I'm sure. I mean, they've got Indian reservations in the area. I'm sure they've got the Keno. I will say this though, I have been to Las Vegas many times, and I have never once gambled in Las Vegas, so that would be a first for me.
Oh,
Exactly.
geez. Yeah, come for a
I've
visit.
always come for work. I've never come to, and it's always going to restaurants and to meetings and to trade shows, and I never I've walked through casinos, but I have never actually
You
really
never
gambled.
stopped and just
I've never
gave it a
stopped.
go.
I've never gambled at a casino ever in my life. Can you believe that? Thinking about all the casinos that I've been to, I've never once played blackjack or anything.
That
So
is wild.
yeah, in a
Yeah.
casino. I mean, I play cards with
Yeah,
friends, but
friends
yeah,
and
yeah,
a
mhm,
casino. Well, you
yeah,
need to come on out to Vegas,
that's
and
right.
we'll do some gambling and hopefully some winning while we're at it. All right. Invest in cryptocurrency.
No, I've never done that, and I'll be honest, I just I don't get it. Like I know it's big, and I know a lot of people are doing Bitcoins and doing this stuff. I just have no interest in investing
No
in
interest.
that.
So that's
Yeah,
a
I don't know
left.
why. Yeah,
All
left.
right. Send thank you cards.
Yes, I've done that. That's yeah.
All right. Learn to DJ.
I've never DJ'd. I've seen people do it, and it seems like it's a lot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could try it. I think that'd be kind of fun. DJ a
Okay.
party.
So that's all right.
Yep,
Learn to
I'll do.
DJ.
I'll learn to DJ.
All right. Awesome. Play tug of war.
Yes. Mhm.
Do you remember your first tug of war match?
Yeah, actually, it would have been when I was in middle school, in junior high. We had field day events, and so we had tug of war. And so, yeah, we ended up having teams and doing that. So I do remember that,
Did you
doing that
like
at
it?
Sanborn.
Did you
Yeah, it
enjoy
was
it? Did
fun.
you
I
guys
mean, if
win?
I don't remember if we won. I do remember, in my mind, and maybe I'm falsely creating an image of what field day looked like at Sanborn in Concord, Massachusetts, but I seem to remember different bits and pieces, and it was a good experience. It was a lot of fun. I mean,
All right.
those are years where you're a kid and getting to play is it's always a good experience, but that
Yeah.
would have been my first time. Mhm.
All right. Well, speaking of playing as a kid, climb a tree.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Done
Yes,
that.
many times. Mhm.
Uh, get acupuncture.
No, no, left.
Left. Not interested in the Chinese
I always think of
medical arts.
I always think of the Family Guy episode where Brian's getting acupuncture and like the poison needles are right next to the regular needles, and he says, "I don't know, it seems a little a little dangerous." And the doctor says, "Why? What do those other faces say?" And Brian's like, "We're done here."
Uh,
So I don't know. I don't know. It scares me a little bit. I've done other kinds of things, but acupuncture has never been something that I
that
don't
you
know.
want to try. All
Yeah.
right. Find a missing pet. Have you ever found somebody's pet?
This is not a pleasant story. I did one time find a neighbor's missing pet.
It's
It,
supposed to have a happy ending. Okay, do tell.
well, there were signs all over the neighborhood for poor little Fluffy. That's not really the cat's name, but it was somebody's cat. And it was during the towards the end of the winter into the spring, and we had a above ground pool. And as we were getting
Oh,
things set up, we found the cat frozen in a block of ice. So that was not a pleasant find for us. But that's the
oh,
first time that I helped find someone's missing cat, but it wasn't a pleasant story. And
oh.
yeah, I don't think I've ever done that for since. And we've seen certainly help put up signs and things like that, but I've never actually found somebody else's pet. So
Yeah, that
sorry.
is that is not the usual ending to a
Yeah,
story like this.
I guess you don't want me finding your pet if that's
Oh,
the story, right?
wow.
Sorry.
So who had to deliver the bad news to the neighbor?
It would have been my mom at the time. Yeah, that wouldn't have been us as we were two little kids. So
Oh man. All right. So moving on to
mhm,
today's daily first time story prompt, which is
mhm.
first celebrity crush.
Oh gosh, that's such a good one. Um, who would have been my first celebrity crush? Um, It would have been I can't think of her name now. She was on Party of Five, the actress, Nev Campbell. That was
Uh,
probably my first like celebrity crush. There was something about her that just I thought was like just cute, and I just loved her kind of quirkiness. And she did that one movie, Three to Tango, I think, with the guy from Friends. I can't think of his name, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then Dylan, whatever, yeah, plays sort of the bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking back on mine, and mine was John Bon Jovi. So,
Of course, that's a
in the
good one.
80s. Yeah, but
Yeah,
then I started thinking like more about it. I'm like, how old was I? I'm like, wait a second. I was like a young teenager,
yeah.
you know, having a crush on a full grown man. It's just like you don't think about it back then because it just doesn't have the same
It's all innocent. I
yeah,
mean,
but it's still weird when you
I mean,
look
if you'd
back.
said Robert Smith of The Cure, then I would have probably had some
Yeah,
questions for you. But yeah,
yeah, it's just it's funny how when you kind of look back on things. I mean, then because I
Mhm.
also had a crush on the New Kids on the Block, but that was a little bit more appropriate. But I meant like true crush
Of
was
course.
definitely John Bon Jovi, and then Troy Aikman, definitely a crush on. But same thing, it's like
Yep.
like way too old for you.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So, final question is,
Mhm.
how are you making the best out of the COVID-19 situation?
Well, reaching out to people like you and I have connected again, right? Picking up the phone a little bit more, making some more phone calls, talking to people. Uh, I've called my mom a lot more frequently. I mean, I always try to stay in touch with my mom, obviously, but I call her more frequently to the point now where she says, I'm still alive. She doesn't even answer the phone. She says, you don't need to check on me every day. So yeah, and trying to change up my office a little bit. I've got some new video cameras and some other things, so I could start to do maybe a little teaching, do some online courses to teach people some things, pass on some knowledge, and that kind of thing. But yeah, just trying to live every day a little bit more fully, eat a little better, those kinds of things. So
Well, that's
yeah.
good. Good, making good positives out of the
Mhm.
situation. Hey, and when you call your mom, you can be like, "Hey, mom, we're gonna exchange the daily prompts. Like, I know
That's
this
right.
girl. She's giving me stuff to talk about, so I'm calling you. You're gonna answer the question. I'll answer the question. We'll get to know each other better, and I'll know that you're alive and well."
Exactly. That
So,
sounds like a good plan.
all right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. It
I
was it was
appreciate
great
you.
to catch up and hear your
Yeah,
story. It's definitely a unique series of first times that you went through
exactly.
for sure. And I will never forget the cat story. That's
I'm
now
sorry.
forever. No, I mean, I
The
asked, but
problem with
it's kind of a,
live
yeah.
interviews,
Well, actually, I mean, it's bad sense of humor, but I do think it's kind of funny. I mean, it's dreadful, but
of
also
course,
funny. Yeah.
you can't, yeah, I mean, you look back on it, you just think about these moments, and yeah, they're crazy things that happen to us all the time throughout
Yeah.
life, right? So,
So, well, but what's interesting is like first time and only time, and that's how it panned out. So it's just
right?
that's why I love first time stories.
Yes.
So, all right.
Love
Well,
what you're
thanks
doing here.
again.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.